YouTube viewers, my name is Brandon and this is Toronto Mod Shop. This video is basically the next part in my easy maintenance series. In that series I'm showing you guys how easy it is to maintain your car properly. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to replace pads and rotors on your car. I'm working on my dad's 05 Pontiac Vibe. So let's jump out, take a look at what we're going to be using, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so here's what we're going to need. Starter goes off at the right. Bear with me here for a second. There we go. This right here. Breaker bar, 21mm socket, torque wrench, file, needle nose pliers, 14-17 wrench, ball peen and dead blow hammers, 1/2 inch impact cordless, pry bar, wire brush, safety glasses, cloths, pads and rotors, brake clean, brake lube, anti-seize, WD-40, brake lube, anti-squeal, WD-40, anti-seize, channel locks. This stuff right here is kind of just to clean all the rust and oxidation off. As I go through, you'll see what each thing is used for, and I'll tell you what it's used for. But for now, let's move on to step 1, which is jacking the car up and putting it on stands. Alright guys, so now that I have the jack sort of ready, what you're going to want to do before you actually lift the wheels off the ground is take your breaker bar and your 21mm or 19 or whatever size your wheel nuts are, and basically crack them all loose, because once the wheel's off the ground, the wheel's going to spin when you try and loosen them. So let's do that. Alright, so now that we've loosened all the wheel nuts, and just kind of crack them loose, what you're going to do is lift up the car so the tires are off the ground, put 2 stands, one on each side, to support the car. If you want to leave the jack in, you can, but just in case it fails, you don't want it falling with the wheels off, so you put the stands in, and we'll go from there. So let's lift it up and put the stands in. Alright guys, so now you can see that the stands are under and the jack has lifted the car. Next thing you're going to want to do is you can either use a ratchet, you can use breaker bar, but I'm going to be using that cordless impact gun. And you're going to take all the wheel nuts off. After that, take the wheel off, put it off to the side. So now for the first time we can get a good look at the brakes, at least a better look. As you can see, the rotors have severe ridging and scoring. They're rusted, obviously. The pads are extremely low, somewhere around 2mm. So let's start taking it apart. What you're going to want to do, what I should have done earlier in the day, is soak all the bolts for the bracket and the caliper in WD-40 or penetrating fluid, but I'll spray it now, wait half an hour and get started. For you guys that'll be a few seconds. Alright, so let's get started on disassembly. First thing you're going to want to do is take the caliper out. One tip I can give you and tell you is that you don't need to take out both caliper bolts. Take out the bottom one, then hold the boot and pop the pin. Pop it out by the pin, and then you can kind of just hang it off the spring. So let's do that. So take out the bottom bolt. Put that somewhere you're not going to lose. Alright, so that was a lot harder than I thought it would be. Took a lot of effort. Only took a couple minutes though, basically. Caliper is removed and it's hanging off up there. Next thing to do, of course, is pull out your old pads, and they are pretty low. They're worn a little bit unevenly. Alright, so here's the pads when they're out. That's the inboard and outboard pads. As you can see, they're worn a lot, so let's move on. These pads are garbage basically. Back shims are rusted right through basically. I could pull it into pieces, but let's just move on. Next step is to take off this caliper bracket, so let's do that. Sorry, kids are outside playing. Should be 17. Alright guys, we're going to move to the driver's side instead because this side looks easier. So what you're going to want to do to make life easier for yourself, I realized, is start the car and turn the wheel all the way to the side that you're working on. So I'm working on the left side, so I'm going to turn the wheel full lock to the left. That way this is sitting like this and I could access the bolts without hitting the body. So let's do that. Alright, so now you can see it's easier to access. So now, like I said, these two bolts that hold on the caliper bracket, let's get those off and take the bracket off. Alright, so now that, if you look at the nut, whenever I try and back it off, the bolt moves backwards as well. So what I'm going to do is take the ratchet off and just use this like a screwdriver. One bolt. I ordered a cordless ratchet. When that comes, it'll make this job a lot easier in the future. Try not to drop your caliper bracket. It's not the end of the world though. Alright, so now that this is off, we're going to move on to rebuilding this. Normally these rotors would be seized, but happily it's not. So that's good. Put the old rotor off to the side. And let's move on. Let's go into the garage and let's rebuild this. Alright guys, so first step, rebuilding your bracket. In most cases, if you spend the money and you get a good quality brake pad, it'll actually come with new shims, these right here. But because the pads I bought were cheaper, on the cheaper side, I think they were about $58. It's not cheap, but there's pads out there for hundreds. So basically, I'm gonna have to clean these. So take them out, just give them a nice little pull. Don't bend them though. So what you're gonna do, what we're gonna do, is clean the shims, and then you're also gonna clean the mating surface for the shim. So let's first clean the actual bracket. Alright, so first thing, take your wire brush, and all you're gonna do is brush the slot, and basically everywhere where that shim touches. And you're gonna basically, the point of this is to get off the larger rust. And just clean the area a little bit. Flip it around. And same thing over here. You get the point. Basically I'm gonna clean this off a little bit better and then I'm gonna move on. After you're done with this, and you think you got most of the large rust off, the next thing to do is take either a small wire brush or a roll-off pad with the anvil. This is what I use at the dealership to do brakes, just like that. This would normally go into a 90-degree die grinder or a straight die grinder, but I don't have air in this garage, so I'm going to be using my cordless drill. So I'm going to be using this. So let's get that set up. Alright guys, so drill, wire brush. What you're going to do, sorry if it gets a bit noisy, basically take the wire brush full speed and clean the same area. Alright, so let's get cleaning. One thing that I forgot to bring home from the shop is my respirator. So wear a respirator or pull your shirt over your face, which is what I'm going to do. You get the point. Clean off both sides where the shims mate to the bracket, and then we'll move on to cleaning the shims. Alright guys, so I got it as clean as I could with the brush. Next thing you're going to want to do, if you want to get it a little bit cleaner, is take your flat file, and you can kind of carefully, without taking off the metal, kind of take off the rust. Just kind of file the groove out a little bit. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll move on. Alright, so the bracket's as clean as I'm going to get it. It doesn't need to be perfect. So now let's move on to the next step, which is cleaning up your shims. So what you're going to need for this is your wire brush again. Like both wire brushes, the one attached to the drill and the wire brush, this one. But you're also going to need some brake clean. So what I'm going to do is put this off to the side, shake off this, and get everything ready. Alright, so next thing, get your shims ready. You want to clean both sides. First thing, take your brake clean. It doesn't need to be brand specific. As long as it says brake cleaner or brake parts cleaner or something like that. Shake it up. Start closing down your shims. Kind of let them soak in the brake cleaner a little bit. Flip them around. Let that soak for a couple minutes, that way it gets nice and loosened up. And we'll move on. Alright guys, so next step. Take your brush, this one. I'm going to zoom you guys out so much the shots are not all my hand. Put one off to the side for now. And just brush the shim. The goal is to get as much of the dirt off as possible. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. You get the point. Basically, clean off both shims with this, whatever you guys need to use, basically. Toothbrush works just as well. But clean the shims, and then we'll move on to the next part. Guys, just a quick comparison so you guys can see. That's the before, all black and dirty. And that's the after. It's not perfect, but it's a lot cleaner. So now let's make the other one look like that. Alright, so now that the bracket and shims are clean, we're going to clip them back in. There we go, now they're back in. So let's put this back on the car. Alright, so now we're back out at the car. What you're going to want to do... Sorry, it's rusty. Wish I could replace that too. That's for another day. Next thing you're going to want to do is get your drill with your roll-lock pad and anvil and clean the hub. So let's do that. I'm not going to show you guys the whole thing. I'll stop you guys part way through, but you'll get the point. Make sure this is tight. You get the point. Clean all 5. Well, depending on how many bolts you have. Clean the hub as best as possible, and then we'll move on. So it's cleaned up a bit. Next thing you're going to want to do, take your anti-seize. Not a lot, just a little. Just put a dab between each of the lugs, and then I like to put, that's a lot, not that much, but put some around the hub. That way the rotor doesn't stick to it. Alright, so now let's grab the new rotor. Alright, so got the new rotor. Put it on. Put your bracket back on. What you can do, you don't have to keep fighting the rotor. Just take one of the nuts. If it'll reach. Kind of reaches. The point is, it holds the rotor steady so that you can take your bracket and put it back on. To make life easier again, turn the wheel all the way towards the wheel that you're working on. Now that it's turned, take your bracket and reinstall it. I'm not going to bore you with tightening it and torquing it right now, so we'll just get it snug down and then we'll move on. With the large bolts, it'll basically get to the point where even with the breaker bar, it won't go any tighter. If you get to that point, stop. You don't want to break the bolts. Now the bracket is fully secured. So next thing you're going to want to do is get your silicone brake lube. You're going to want to pull your pins out and get ready, and your pads, get them ready. If you want to put any squeal on them, you can put any squeal on your pads, but a lot of new pads have special shims on the back of the pad to stop it from squealing. So basically get your pads ready, get your silicone brake lube ready, and let's start putting the pads in. Alright, so first thing, pull your pins. Basically take the pin out. Take your pin out, wipe off the old grease. If there's oxidation or if the pin is dragging, then obviously you need to take your wire brush on the drill and kind of clean up the pin a little. Basically, take some brake lube. Coat the pin in brake lube. Do not use anti-seize on these pins, because if anti-seize gets on the boots, they will swell, they will tear, and it'll just be a lot bigger headache in the future. So, there you go. So now you can see, if you look at the difference, this one's hard to move and this one moves nice. So let's do the same thing down here. Carefully, do not rip your boots. Again, it's not the end of the world if you rip them, but I'd rather not have to go back out to replace them. Clean it off. Brake lube. Spread it out. Put it back in. And now this one moves. Oh, there we go. Now this one moves a lot more freely. Alright guys, now it's time to put the pads in. If you did put a nut on to hold the rotor, take it off, because you want the rotor to move freely so you can put the pads in properly. So, if you're doing the pads and they have a spring or a wear indicator like the squealer, then that pad would go in the back. But in my case, all 4 pads have no squealer, so I'm just gonna pick a pad. Normally I have a little spray paint cap with a brush, but for this I'm just going to use the tube. You're basically going to take some brake lube, put it on the surfaces of the pad that go in the shim. One thing I'm going to recommend for you guys is to do a brake service every, I don't know, I'm going to say 6 months to a year. If the brakes are starting to stick, you don't always need new brakes. They're just kind of seized. So what you can do is get it to this point, like take the caliper and pads out, use your wire brush on the drill and clean basically everywhere where that lube is. Clean it with the wire brush, get the rust off, clean the shims, and then re-lubricate them like this, and then put them back in. So I'm sorry if I'm in your way, my head's in the way, but I can't really see. There we go, one in. Same thing over here. I'm not gonna show you guys that one, but same thing, lube it, stick it in. Right, so the new pads are in. I was just mentioning a brake service. I will do another quick maintenance video doing a brake service probably on my car in a month or 2, so you guys will get to see that. The process is the same. So basically, now that this is like this, what you're going to want to do is get your big channel lock pliers. In my case, in some cases you'll need needle-nose pliers, you might need a special tool. What we're going to be doing is retracting the piston back into the caliper so it can fit over the new pads, because they're thicker. Alright, so take your caliper, get your channel locks out, set that up here. Careful not to damage anything, but the point is, slowly walk. 1 second. One thing I forgot to do, what you guys should do is take the cap off of your brake fluid reservoir, because now the fluid is going to be pushed back to the reservoir and it might pop the cap, which you don't want to happen. So what you're going to want to do is take the cap off and put a cloth kind of in it. That way it absorbs the extra brake fluid as it squirts out. Alright guys, so I'm just going to show you guys what I did. Basically, cap off, cloth around, so if it does overflow when you push the pistons in, it overflows into the cloth and not all over everything. Fluid does look dirty, so the system will need to be flushed, but that'll be maybe another video for this series. So let's go back down to the brakes. And we're back down here. So like I said, take your channel locks, carefully walk the piston back into the caliper. Piston seals need to be replaced as well, but not right now. So next thing, put caliper back on carefully. It may take some wiggling, so I'm not gonna have the camera right next to me. Just wiggle it. Don't rip any boots. Don't tear any rubber seals. Just carefully get it back together. Alright guys, so as you can see, caliper is back on. Make sure you seat the pins correctly, because these pins are not round. They're flat on two sides, and those kind of sit in a divot in the caliper. Same with this one down here. But the point is, once the caliper is back on, put these back in. Where's my wrench? Here's my wrench. And these, just snug them down nicely. There we go, now they're getting tight. One is, snug them down nicely. So these don't need to be as tight as the caliper bracket bolts, but basically get them nice and snug. These I think are torqued to about 25, I believe, but again, I've done it enough that I know. So now, let's bring you guys around the side, and that looks 1,000 times better, and I'm sure it'll stop a lot better now too. One thing I didn't do that you could do if you wanted is take a little bit of anti-seize or brake lube, put some on my finger. And basically, sorry you guys are a little bit sideways, but in right here, what you can do is take a little bit of brake lube, so that way the piston doesn't, sorry, the caliper bracket doesn't seize to the back of the shim. But again, you don't have to do that. Alright, so now you guys saw this. I'm not going to show you guys again on the other side. I'm just going to do it. It's a lot faster. And then we'll take a look at it after, and maybe we'll go for a test drive. Alright guys, so I'm working on the other side now. And as you can see, there's rust on the pin, which is why it was hard to get out. So I'm just going to show you guys me cleaning it off. There you go, just a quick little cleanup of the pin. As you can see, the battery was getting low at the end there, so it's a good thing I got this done. So now I'm going to put the passenger side together. Alright guys, so here's the finished passenger side and the finished driver side. So next is to put the wheels back on. That's straightforward. Lift the wheels onto the car, hand tighten the nuts, and then torque them. I'm torquing mine to 100 foot-pounds. Alright, so now that the wheels are back on, what you're going to want to do is lift it up off the stands, which I think it's already off the stands. Basically the point is get the stands out, lower it so that the tires are just touching the ground. You don't want full weight, you want about half weight onto the tires. Then you want to torque them and then drop it the rest of the way down. So let's do that. Alright, so let's lower it down a tiny bit. Now the stands are out. There. You want the tires touching so that you can torque it without the wheels spinning, but you want basically less weight on the car so that way the wheels don't do this. They stay straight and you can torque them down. Okay, so torquing the wheels is the easy part. First thing, set your torque wrench to the right number. Next, torque the wheel. And now, drop the car down. And you're done. Time for a road test. One thing, do not forget to put the cap back on your brake fluid reservoir. It's actually really full. I'm just gonna kind of absorb a tiny bit. There you go. Now, that back on. And we're done. Close the hood, test drive. Alright guys, let's go for a quick 2-minute drive. One thing I need to mention to you is before you start your car for the first time after doing your brakes, make sure you pump the brakes until they're hard. That way the pads are seated properly, pistons are ready, and everything's good. So now let's go for a quick little drive. Holy cow. 1,000 times better. Before you had to put your foot all the way to the floor just for a little stop. Now I just touch the brakes and the car stops properly. Perfect. No noises, just good brakes. Perfect. Alright guys, thanks for watching. You got this far. You learned how to do new pads and new rotors properly. And now your car stops a lot better. Now you're safer, everyone else is safer, and yeah. I don't know what else to say. So let's end it off, and I just want to say thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share, like, and everything my videos. If you have any comments, feel free to post them below in the comment section. If there's anything maintenance-wise that you'd like to see me do, either send me a message to my email address on Facebook, Instagram, through YouTube. It's all down below, and it's all going to be after I finish talking. It's going to be a social media slide. So, again, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.